Hey guys, John Koah Spear Guns here to go over what is the Koah difference. About a week ago, I had one of our dealers call me up and ask me, "Hey, can you come down and train our sales team? Tell what separates Koah from the competition." And I'm like, you know what? I've never really done the video showing exactly what we've done to these spear guns over the years, the progressions we made from the trigger mech handle, everything that we've designed in-house, and why we designed it that way to give Koah the performance and feel that they're known for. So what we did was we chopped two guns in half to an old Euro that we had and an old fatback. Chopped them in half essentially, and I'm going to go through piece by piece exactly what's been done to these spear guns over the years from the butt all the way up to the muzzle to show you the progression and what we've done and why we did it to separate us from the competition. So stay tuned, I'm going to go through piece by piece to show you exactly what is the Koah difference. All right, let's start with the most important things before I go from the rear of the gun to the butt of the gun to the muzzle. The wood. We have 3 different teak suppliers and we have 2 different mahogany suppliers. We rotate them depending on how good their stock is that time of year. We are extremely strict on the quality of teak that we have coming in. It takes years to build these relationships with with the mills that we have direct to mill access to. They know what we want. We've been working with them for over 10 years, so they know what we want and they know what we're going to send back. So they always send us the proper moisture content, the proper grade of teak. We spend a lot of time getting the right teak, and to mill it to proper spec, it takes years and years to get those kind of relationships, and they know exactly what we want. So you're always going to get the highest quality teak and mahogany with us. And we have sent, years ago, we've sent thousands and thousands of dollars of wood back to the mills because he said, this doesn't meet our requirements, this doesn't meet our specifications. We have to send it back until you guys send us the correct stuff. And yeah, it upsets some people, but now they know exactly what we want and we get the best quality teak we can get our hands on. Starting from the back of the spear gun, the gun butt. The Koah gun butts on all the models except for the Twin R and the Blue Water, because those are wider guns and they're better off having a pad than a gun butt. They are genuine rubber, and they are not plastic, they are not vinyl. And why did we use genuine rubber? Well, we did that because it's going to give you the best grip on your hip, it's going to give you the best grip for chest loading, and it's going to give you the most cushioning possible while maintaining the best grip. So, and they're also less likely to crack over time and fall apart. So it's rare we ever have to replace gun butts, but these hold up extremely well. And yes, rubber costs a little bit more, but again, all we care about in these guns is the performance and the quality, and that's exactly what we went for with that. Now moving forward, our handles. Now you'll notice any of our handles, reels, any of that, they're never going to be shiny, and the reason they're not shiny is because it's not a traditional ABS plastic. If the plastic is shiny, it's usually very weak, or it's not meant to handle a lot of structure or load. So these are all glass-filled nylon, GFN. So GFN is fiberglass and other fiber-filled nylon. And what that does is it makes it 10 times stronger than anything else out there. And you could literally take this and hit it with a baseball bat. It's not going to shatter. It's meant to hold together. It's very strong and it's solid. There is no hollow under this handle. All of our handles are really solid. There's no air pockets in them. So yes, it weighs a tiny bit more, but it gives it all kinds of strength, and that's what we're going for, is strength. Because I've seen in the past, I've seen handles from other manufacturers. It's rare, but you see where the handle breaks off or the trigger guard breaks, and we never want that to happen. That's the scariest thing in the world. We never want a spear gun to come flying back at somebody and hit them in the face. So that's why we went with glass-filled nylon and everything. Yes, it costs more, but again, it's all about the quality. Moving on to the trigger mech. Our trigger mech, we designed these in-house, we designed the box in-house, and the reverse mech. Both boxes are fully boxed mechs. They're not pressed. They're not just an open U on the bottom. We built these to withstand over 3 times the amount of pressure that you're ever gonna put these mechs under. And that was the point. We wanted them insanely strong. I never want these to fail. So they're fully boxed, meaning the bottom is connected at some point. There is no open plane, completely open plane on these mechs. They're all stainless components in here. The only part that could ever fail on these, and it rarely does, is the 316 stainless springs. Got one here, got one here. That's it. The line release is mechanical. We went with an auto return line release that will auto reset, and it auto resets with this little lever here and here. And we did that because, again, springs over time can fatigue. We didn't want to cause any weak points in the spear gun. So having an auto return gives you years and years of longevity. It's very hard to break an auto return because it is stainless steel, and it resets the line release. Now, over time, rarely we get an instance where the line release has been worn out from thousands and thousands of days of use, and we have to replace the line release part, but that's easy. Or if you bend the line release pin, if you hit something very hard on the spear gun, that can occasionally happen too, but it's very rare. So that's our trigger mech box. It's, like I said, built to last. It's insanely, insanely strong. Now, moving on to the middle of the spear gun, our biggest claim to fame is the enclosed track. Our enclosed track, we've always done it this way. There's two kinds of enclosed tracks out there. There's one, the way we do it, which is a poured enclosed track. It is part of the spear gun. It is a proprietary combination of our house epoxy with multiple different fibers and graphite. And what the graphite is used for, that's why our tracks are all black. We never use colored tracks. And they do look cool, but the black is there for a reason. Graphite keeps it slick at all times. Even if the track were to slowly wear over time with the shaft, the graphite's still there. We use a large amount of graphite in our epoxy, and that keeps the track slick and always fast. And a test that I always tell people to try is to take a spear gun, and if you want to see what kind of condition the track is in, you take unloaded, take the spear gun, turn it up at a 45-degree angle, and pull the trigger. And if that shaft doesn't slide out freely all the way to the end, then there's a bind somewhere, or the track isn't part of the spear gun. You sometimes see that with inserted tracks. Inserted tracks, yes, they're easier because all you have to do is dovetail the blank and slide in the track, but usually, obviously, they're synthetic, and they are usually a UHMW or some kind of starboard-like material. And the problem with that is it's almost impossible to get a perfect dovetail fit, and it has ability to move inside the spear gun. And that's where you get that pinch point, and that's why I tell people, put the spear gun at a 45-degree angle, pull the trigger, and see if the shaft freely leaves the spear gun. And that's the beauty of the enclosed track. This enclosed track is insanely strong because it's full of all kinds of fibers. And over the years, people always ask me, how dangerous is it for me to shoot into a hole? Is the shaft gonna break? Or is the shaft gonna break the track? And I think we've dealt with that maybe 5 times in our history, 6 times. I don't know. It's not enough for me to remember. So it's a very rare occurrence. Another fact that most people don't know about our spear guns, because you can't see it, is you can see this steel here and here. So what we have under the track is ballast. And a lot of people don't know we take this extra step with all of our Euros, most of our fatbacks except the 42 because it's too small, doesn't need it. But all of our fatbacks, rollers, blue waters, they all have an internal base ballast. And what that does, why do we have that? Because mass eats recoil. So we want to add weight to the gun to help eat up recoil. A lighter spear gun does not eat up recoil. And that's why we take the extra effort to put stainless steel underneath the tracks before we pour them. And that's a huge upgrade that people really don't know about. They always ask, well, how do you keep your guns nice and balanced and eat up recoil? I'm like, well, that's how we do it. It's inside the track. That's why you can't see it. So, the main thing from this is our insanely strong track that is poured in part of the spear gun. Yes, it takes a lot more labor. It takes a lot more effort. But again, the whole point of this is to show you the quality and the Koah difference. Okay, so moving on to the front of the spear gun. Not much left to go, so obviously you see the continuation of the track, stainless line anchor, which has 2 number 8 screws in it to hold it in place. The way our muzzle is cut, so I don't get it often, but occasionally people say, well, why didn't you do a slotted muzzle down here or in the front? And on the Euro, we didn't do that because when you have 3 bands pulling back on something, if this were to fail, what happens is you get a fracture here and it just works its way back. So I didn't want to have to deal with all those returns of, re-gluing behind the muzzle. I didn't want that crack to happen, because what happens is a lot of times the screw in the front will corrode and then you can't get it out, and then people end up cutting it out anyway, and this is a much better solution. I figured let's just change the band. So that's why we have our enclosed muzzle bands, so you keep the muzzle shut, because that is the strongest way to have a band slot, because it can never fail. And the band only takes 2 seconds to put in, the enclosed muzzle band. The fat back has 3 separate components, but with what you get with that, the only downfall is they're not as close together, so you lose a little bit of band stretch, but you have to have at least that amount of room in between the bands to have enough strength to ensure that it never cracks. But you'll notice with our band material is always black over amber, and we get it from the very best American-based rubber company. A lot of us manufacturers do. Primeline, they are the best. They give us the best rubber, it's the best consistency. But we always use black over amber because it's been proven that amber has more snap to it and black has the UV capabilities to protect it from the sun. So that's why we don't do solid black, that's why we don't do just amber. We do black over amber with all of our rubber. So that's what gives you the best snap, the best performance, and in the end, it's all pointing to one direction, which is to maintain the highest quality. The last thing I want to go over is the hard shell protectant, or the Koah coating that we are well known for. We've been doing this since the beginning of Koah, is the multi-layer finish for a couple reasons. One, we wanted to give the spear gun a nice hard protective shell, but we also wanted something that looked different. Every spear gun on the market seemed to have an oil finish on it or some kind of satin polyurethane. We went with a heavier base coat, and we have a specialized top coat. Now that specialized top coat is very expensive. It has high UV inhibitors. It's not a super high solid, so it's slightly flexible, and that's what keeps the finish from ever cracking if you were to bang it on something. But it's a great protectant for the spear gun. This is a very slow process, but we do a lot of them at a time, and we spent a lot of money over the years building the apparatuses to be able to do a lot of these at a time. We also obviously offer an oil finish. We have a video in our library of just the Koah finishes you can check out. And we've also done thousands of these as well, so we've really worked this finish into a system, and that's a multi-layer. We use 2 different oils. We use a specialized base oil, and then we use 3 coats of a tongue oil on top of it, and this is one that you can maintain yourself. So that's pretty much it for going through the Koah difference. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned something. They're not just sticks of rubber bands, there's a lot internally going on in these things. And just a quick recap: the true rubber gun butt, the glass-filled nylon handles, the fully boxed mech with the 1/4 inch internals, our enclosed track that we're known for, our poured enclosed track that we're known for. It was part of the spear gun, a lot of extra labor in that, our internal ballast system, and the high quality bands that we use and components throughout the spear gun. The only difference is maybe with the Blue Waters or the Twin R's and the big bodies, they have variable ballast systems, which is lead pockets that you can change the ballast in them. But as you can see, we take every step we can think of to make these better. And if you want to see something else put on the spear guns, by all means, put it in the comments. Please like and subscribe, because we put out a lot of these videos, and I'd love to keep you guys educated on this stuff. And I also put videos out when we come out with new products, and we have some really great ones coming out in the next couple months. So again, please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.